2023 is off to a pretty bad start with Velma being the first major show release of the year. We all knew that it would be pretty bad because Fred has white privilege, Shaggy has been turned into Norville, and there's no Scooby in the series. But it is going much worse for HBO than they probably expected because Velma is trending on Twitter from people roasting it, and on YouTube the new trailer has less than 10,000 likes and over 200,000 dislikes, plus the user scores are tanking. I have a bunch of things to show off, but before we get into the topic at hand, if you enjoy the content that I create, please make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. Follow me on social media like Twitter or mine so that you can see when my content is posted. And of course, if you do really enjoy the videos and the live streams that I create, please consider becoming a Dark Titan via Patreon for just $1 a month, or support the channel via YouTube memberships. All of the links are in the description, and of course, I do really appreciate all of the support. So in my previous video, I also talked about Velma, and I talked about the fact that when the audience scores finally unlocked, they were sitting around an 18%, which was pretty bad. I mean, an 18% isn't great, under 20 is seen as terrible, but now it has dropped even more. More people are rating it, more people are trying to give it a chance, and they're hating it because now it is sitting at an 8% audience score, and I think that it is going to continue to drop at this point. But the critic scores have also gone down a little bit. It is currently sitting at a 50% critic, which I was honestly pretty surprised that it was around a 60 yesterday when I'm recording this video, because I thought the critics would like it more. I initially talked about how there were, early critic reviews coming out saying that it was really good, it was cool, the feminist humor in it was hilarious, the representation in it was great. So I thought that the critics would give this like a 70 to an 80%, but it doesn't look like that's happening. It has gone down to a 50, but the audience scores are dropping very fast. Now, I think that HBO expected there to be backlash to this series since Mindy Kaling has been damage controlling for months at this point, but I don't think they expected it to be this bad. But Mindy doesn't really care. Of course, she voices Velma. She's the co-creator of this series, but as you can see, this was back in May of 2022 when we got the first look at this series. They started announcing it, and she said that she doesn't care what you think about the new East Asian Velma, and I hope she still doesn't care, because people absolutely hate this show. And it's not because of the representation, it's not over the fact that, Velma is now East Asian. It's the fact that the humor in this show is cringe humor, it is feminist humor, and the plot of it is terrible. People are also upset over the fact that the characters are very different. Fred has white privilege. Daphne is a drug dealer. You have Norville, who was originally Shaggy, who's like obsessed with Velma. And of course, you have no Scooby. So these are all of the major problems with the show that people have. I haven't seen anybody bringing up the representation of this series, besides the fact, of course, that it doesn't really stick to the source material, and all these characters are very different from their original counterparts. But of course, I'm sure that in the next few days, we will see her bring this back up and start talking about this again, how she doesn't care if you like this show or not. You're just an ist or a phobe if you dislike it, because that, of course, is the generic response to Backlash. It's calling people ists and phobes and saying that we're terrible people simply for not enjoying the content that they are creating. But also, in bad news for them, the YouTube trailer is still getting destroyed. It is number 35 on trending, so it has significantly dropped places over the past couple of days. It is sitting at 4.1 million views with under 10,000 likes and over, at this point, 250k dislikes. They still have the comments turned off. They still don't want people, discussing this show. They want people to basically shut up, consume product, and move on with their lives, which we, of course, are not going to do. That's why people take to things like Rotten Tomatoes to review awful shows like this, especially if you turn comments off. People are going to find a way to voice their opinion, and right now that just happens to be Rotten Tomatoes and also Twitter. Velma has been trending on social media because people are memeing on this show very heavily, so I thought I would show you a couple of the responses. People are saying things like, LOL, say what you want about Velma, but this is shaping up to be one of the best looking Scooby-Doo cartoons. The artists, color stylists, and compositors all deserve their flowers, and they're just pictures of trash cans. I mean, yeah, this show shouldn't have aired. I mean, it is awful. People are saying things like, it isn't just woke or bad writing, it's a self-insert vanity project wearing the skin of Scooby-Doo while absolutely tossing its source material, its mainstream vandalization, which I completely agree with. They had so much source material to work with, but instead of going with a story that people would have actually enjoyed, Mindy Kaling just wanted like her own self-insert series. She just wanted to do things that she thought would be, praised, and it's not being praised, it's being laughed at. And of course, heading back to Rotten Tomatoes and clicking on the audience scores, as you can see, really no positivity anywhere. Lots of people just saying, like, this is the worst thing that I've ever seen. How is this show greenlit? It was truly awful. And some people are saying things like, simply put, the show is boring. It attempts at humor rely on juvenile sensibilities and ironic, self-aware deprecation, but the jokes don't land. Instead, you're just left with the writers insulting themselves and the audience for no one's benefit. The art style varies wildly from the different characters, with some having a Western style, some having an Eastern style, and some having a Steven Universe style, but this is one thing that works in the show's favor as it gives the characters individuality. However, the content in writing itself is bad. I mean, they gave it a half star. As you can see, people are just not loving this show. I would not waste my time watching this if I was you. It is just god-awful. There's no way that the show is going to get better with the more episodes of it that release, and I do not think that this awful series is going to get a season 2. They didn't market it as a limited series, so technically it could get another season, but after all of the negativity on social media, the terrible audience and critic reviews, I don't think that they'll renew it, which of course Mindy Kaling will say, oh, it got canceled because IST's review bombed it and, tried to make it fail. But as you can see, people are not loving this show and it is going terribly for HBO. But that's all that I really had to discuss in this video. Let everyone know your thoughts in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed it, please make sure to give it a like, share it, and subscribe to the channel. And of course, if you didn't, make sure to give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either way, but I will talk to you all again in the next video really soon.